Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our dear brother. This is the translation of the confession that he sent to me. The confession reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? So, Brother Nashi, I came here to South Africa. This was in the year 2012 when I came here, but my brother, he came to South Africa in the year 2009. So he was called by one of our brother-in-law who was already working in the construction industry. So this brother-in-law of ours, he was married to one of our sister, and she had passed away. She died. This was in 2010. That was when she passed away. And I did not even know that she had been sacrificed by my twin brother. So my twin brother then confessed to me that the reason as to why our sister had passed away, it was because he was the one who had sacrificed our sister. So when he told me at that time, he was making a lot of money, and he was working with some South African companies that were getting a lot of tenders, because most of the companies, what they were doing is that they'll just create a company, then you will go and you will look for people who knew how to do the work that you would have tendered for. So he then started his own construction company. So he was working as a subcontractor. And at that time, the way that he was making his money, it was just too much. Even our relatives back home, they then started complaining. So I spoke with him because I wanted him to get married. With the way that he was spending his money, he was always at the nightclubs, always with these women, and he was always giving them a lot of money. So I was worried because we did not know that his money was not clean money. We did not know that this was just ritual money. That is why he never even cared about how much he was spending on all of these women. So when I was speaking with him, I told him that he was supposed to relax. He was supposed to return back home and to choose a wife. At that time, I had already gotten married, because when I was coming to South Africa, I had met this other woman who was desperate, even though she was older than I was. So because of her desperation, and when she told me her own story, and I then felt sorry for her, then I started dating her, and we then started staying as husband and wife. She also passed away because of these money-making rituals. So my twin brother, he had since refused to assist me, because whilst I was working for his company, I had learned how to do roofing. So I started my own small construction company. So he was the one who was hanging out with the big fish. I said, you know that if I get only a single contract, I am going to be okay. I'll then boost my business. Please just try to give me one contract. But he always refused. And then he confessed to me, because there was this other day when my wife was like really sick, and we were afraid to go to the hospital since she did not have any documentation at all. And I had been staying home at that time. I was unable to get a job because of that spirit, of the spirit that he was using to make money. This spirit, it will come, then it will affect the way that I was working, so that he can make more money. So I went to his place. At that time, he was no longer staying in the location. He was like staying in the suburbs. So when I went to speak with him, I ended up crying, because when I arrived at his house, it was just a mess. It was a mess. There were drugs everywhere. There were naked girls that were just everywhere. Most of them, they were drunk. I got into his house, and the man was just drunk. I spoke with him, and he did not even understand what I was trying to tell him. So I started crying. I cried so hard because I needed some money so that I can take my wife to the hospital. And I did not want to go with my wife to the government hospital, because we were both scared that we will get arrested. Then when I said, okay, if you cannot assist me, let me just go, because I was now thinking of returning back to the place where I was staying and taking the fridge and selling the fridge that we had. It was still a brand new, those small white KIC. During those days, that was when they came out, and I had one like that. So I thought of selling it, then I can go with my wife to the hospital. And when I was about to leave his house, that was when he said, brother, come here. He was like, let us go upstairs. We then went upstairs to his bedroom. And I saw that this guy, he was now sober, like sober. So I asked him if he was okay. He said, yeah, I am okay. I am drunk, but I am okay. I am sober now. There is something that I want to tell you. So he then spoke with me and he said that, you know that in life, sometimes you have to make other plans so that you will be able to live a good life. As you can see, I have all the women that I want. If I want a woman who has a fat booty, I can just grab that woman. If I want to be with a slender woman today, if I want a colored woman, a Chinese, even a white woman, I can get that woman. It is because I have money. There is nothing in this world, oh dear brother, more than money. When you do not have money, you do not mean anything in this world. Do you hear me, brother? And I said, yeah, I do understand, because right now my wife back home, she is suffering. She is really sick and we can't go to the hospital and we can't go to the private hospital because I am broke. And he said, you see, if you do not have money, if you are poor, it is like a curse. So we need to remove this curse of poverty from our family. So this guy, the way that he was acting, it was as if he was a possessed man. And he then convinced me, I don't want to lie. And this is what happens to you when you are poor. Poverty, indeed, it is like a curse. And in that moment, that was when I realized that everything that he was telling me, it was nothing but the truth. Poverty, it is more like a disease. Poverty is more like a curse. And I think that God should have done so much better. He should have given everyone an equal opportunity in life when we are all born. So he spoke with me and he convinced me. After he had seen that, he had convinced me, and at that time he had not told me that me becoming a ritualist, then I was supposed to sacrifice my wife like he had sacrificed my sister. And he had sacrificed himself so that he won't be able to conceive and to get married. He told me later on. So he then took me to this other room. When we went into that room, that was when I saw a snake. This was the first time in my life to see a python. We went into that room and I saw that indeed there was a python that was in there. And I was like really scared. And I said, this thing that you are doing, is it not illegal to keep this pet in your house? Is it allowed to just keep a python? Do you have the proper papers for that? He then laughed at me and he said that no, everything is just sorted out, but this snake that you are looking at right now, it is because I want you to see this snake. If someone, even if the police coax into this room right now, they won't be able to see this snake. He then said that this is the reason as to why I gave you that cloth, because he had given me a red cloth that he had said that I was supposed to sniff when we were still in his bedroom. So I had taken that small red cloth and I had sniffed it, and it was like smelling a lot of herbs. And he said that he had opened my spiritual eyes. So he told me that the snake was the one that was giving him money. Yes, the contracts that he was getting, he was receiving a lot of money, but he had some extra money that he was being given by this snake. That was when I understood that the reason as to why he was spending so much money on all of these women that were always at his house, it was because he had a snake that kept on giving him money. He then said that, don't you want a snake like this? Because I can speak with the traditional healer, the Sangoma, who gave me this snake. And it was like, when I was given this snake, can you believe that this snake, it used to fit in my pocket, but my baby has grown. My baby is all grown up right now. So I agreed in that moment. I don't want to lie. And what hurts me is that when I said yes, it was because I wanted that money to take care of my wife, to go with my wife to the hospital, because the stories that she had told me, she was an orphan, and as she was growing up, she was abused by her mother's relatives. So she used to make me feel really sad whenever I would look at her, all the pain that she had felt in her life. So I thought that if I was going to get a python like this, the snake that will be vomiting money, then I was going to take care of her, to give her a good life, to show those people that used to abuse her that God can change someone's life in the blink of an eye. That God can change someone's life. Well, Brother Nashi, I did not even know At that time, I did not even realize that this is what I was getting myself into. And then we went to that traditional healer's place. When we went to that traditional healer's place, I was given a small stick that I was told that I had to carry it in my pocket, and I was supposed to use that. I was then given a small stick, and I was told that for 2 weeks I had to keep that stick inside my pockets, and I was not supposed to change that trousers. So I then took my work suit. I wore that work suit for 2 good weeks without bathing, without doing anything, until she complained. And after that stick had transformed itself and it had become a snake, that was when I pressurized, that was when I gave her pressure. That was when I told my wife that I wanted her to return back home so that she can just see her kids. Me and her, we had not yet had our me and her, we did not have a child together. So she went back to her village. She came from Masvingo, and that was when she passed away. The day that she passed away, that was when I had the snake talking to me. That was when I took it out of my pocket, and it told me that I should not be afraid, for it was here to give me money. So that is how I became a ritualist. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by our brother right there. So that was the translation of the message that he sent to me.